Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
An interior angle formed by two meeting walls. A piano was in one corner of the room. A small concavity. A predicament from which a skillful or graceful escape is impossible. His lying got him into a tight corner. The intersection of two streets. Standing on the corner watching all the girls go by. Force a person or an animal into a position from which he cannot escape. Architecture. Solid exterior angle of a building, especially one formed by a cornerstone. A place off to the side of an area. He tripled to the right field corner. A projecting part where two sides or edges meet. He knocked off the corners. A remote area. In many corners of the world they still practice slavery. A temporary monopoly on a kind of commercial trade. A corner on the silver market. Gain control over. Corner the gold market. The point where three areas or surfaces meet or intersect. The corners of a cube. The point where two lines meet or intersect. The corners of a rectangle. Turn a corner. The car corners. An interior angle formed by two meeting walls. A sheltered and secluded place. A small concavity. An enclosure that is set back or indented. Ecology. The status of an organism within its environment and community, affecting its survival as a species. A position particularly well suited to the person who occupies it. He found his niche in the academic world. A small concavity. A state of abeyance or suspended business. Close at the end of a session. A pause from doing something, as work. An enclosure that is set back or indented. An arm off of a larger body of water, often between rocky headlands. Make a recess in. Recess the piece of wood. Put into a recess. Recess lights. The withdrawal of the clergy and choir from the chancel to the vestry at the end of a church service. A small concavity. The act of becoming more distant. The act of ceding back. The state of the economy declines. A widespread decline in the GDP and employment and trade lasting from 6 months to a year. Private area in a theater or grandstand where a small group can watch the performance. The royal box was empty. Put into a box. Box the gift, please. The driver's seat on a coach. An armed guard sat in the box with the driver. The quantity contained in a box. He gave her a box of chocolates. Evergreen shrubs or small trees. A predicament from which a skillful or graceful escape is impossible. A blow with the hand, usually on the ear. I gave him a good box on the ear. Any one of several designated areas on a ball field where the batter or catcher or coaches are positioned. The umpire warned the batter to stay in the batter's box. A rectangular drawing. The flowchart contained many boxes. A, usually rectangular, container may have a lid. He rummaged through a box of spare parts. Engage in a boxing match. Hit with the fist. I'll box your ears. Separate partitioned area in a public place for a few people. The sentry stayed in his box to avoid the cold. The intersection of two streets. The intersection of two streets. An event marking a unique or important historical change of course or one on which important developments depend. Stretch, a shoe, on a shoe tree. English actor and theatrical producer noted for his lavish productions of Shakespeare, 1853 to 1917. A figure that branches from a single root. Genealogical tree. Force a person or an animal into a position from which he cannot escape. A tall perennial woody plant having a main trunk and branches forming a distinct elevated crown. Includes both gymnosperms and angiosperms. Chase an animal up a tree. The hunters treed the bear with dogs and killed it. Plant with trees. This lot should be treed so that the house will be shaded in summer. Expandable metal or wooden wedge used by printers to lock up a form within a chase. The keystone of an arch. Architecture. Solid exterior angle of a building, especially one formed by a cornerstone. A part of an animal that has a special function or is supplied by a given artery or nerve. A particular geographical region of indefinite boundary, usually serving some special purpose or distinguished by its people or culture or geography. It was a mountainous area. The extent of a two-dimensional surface enclosed within a boundary. The area of a rectangle. A particular environment or walk of life. It was a closed area of employment. A part of a structure having some specific characteristic or function. The spacious cooking area provided plenty of room for servants. A subject of study. It was his area of specialization. A shape that curves or bends inward. The action of creating a curved shape. A shape that curves or bends inward. The property possessed by a concave shape. A shape that curves or bends inward. A shape that curves or bends inward. A situation from which extrication is difficult, especially an unpleasant or trying one. Finds himself in a most awkward predicament. A situation from which extrication is difficult, especially an unpleasant or trying one. State of uncertainty or perplexity, especially as requiring a choice between equally unfavorable options. A situation from which extrication is difficult, especially an unpleasant or trying one. The woeful plight of homeless people. A solemn pledge of fidelity. Give to in marriage. Promise solemnly and formally. A junction where one street or road crosses another. A junction where one street or road crosses another. A junction where one street or road crosses another. The set of elements common to two or more sets. The set of red hats is the intersection of the set of hats and the set of red things. A junction where one street or road crosses another. A point where lines intersect. A representation of common ground between theories or phenomena. A point or set of points common to two or more geometric configurations. The act of intersecting, as joining by causing your path to intersect your target's path. A path, often marked, where something, as a street or railroad, can be crossed to get from one side to the other. A junction where one street or road crosses another. Genetics, the act of mixing different species or varieties of animals or plants and thus to produce hybrids. A shallow area in a stream that can be forded. A point where two lines, paths or arcs etc., intersect. A voyage across a body of water, usually across the Atlantic Ocean. Traveling across. Cause to form a channel. Make a channel for, provide with a channel. Direct the course, determine the direction of traveling. Send from one person or place to another. Cause to form a channel. Channelize a stream. Make a channel for, provide with a channel. Channelize the country for better transportation. Direct the course, determine the direction of traveling. Send from one person or place to another. Plan and direct, a complex undertaking. Take somebody somewhere. Having no intervening persons, agents, conditions. In direct sunlight. Put an address on an envelope. Specifically design a product, event, or activity for a certain public. Lead, as in the performance of a composition. In a straight unbroken line of descent from parent to child. A direct descendant of the king. Cause to go somewhere. He directed all his energies into his dissertation. In precisely the same words used by a writer or speaker. A direct quotation. Without deviation. The path leads directly to the lake. Direct the course, determine the direction of traveling. Intend, something, to move towards a certain goal. Criticism directed at her superior. Point or cause to go, blows, weapons, or objects such as photographic equipment, towards. Be in charge of. Being an immediate result or consequence. A direct result of the accident. Command with authority. He directed the children to do their homework. Direct in spatial dimensions, proceeding without deviation or interruption, straight and short. A direct route. Give directions to, point somebody into a certain direction. I directed them towards the town hall. Guide the actors in plays and films. Lacking compromising or mitigating elements, exact. The direct opposite. Moving from west to east on the celestial sphere, or, for planets, around the sun in the same direction as the Earth. Of a current, flowing in one direction only. Direct current. Similar in nature or effect or relation to another quantity. A term is in direct proportion to another term if it increases, or decreases, as the other increases, or decreases. Straightforward in means or manner or behavior or language or action. A direct question. Use as a guide. They had the lights to guide on. Be a guiding or motivating force or drive. Take somebody somewhere. Something that offers basic information or instruction. Someone employed to conduct others. Someone who can find paths through unexplored territory. Pass over, across, or through. A model or standard for making comparisons. Direct the course. Determine the direction of traveling. A structure or marking that serves to direct the motion or positioning of something. Someone who shows the way by leading or advising. Computer science. A tiny electromagnetic coil and metal pole used to write and read magnetic patterns on a disk. Be in charge of. Who is heading this project? A person who is in charge. The head of the whole operation. That which is responsible for one's thoughts, feelings, and conscious brain functions. The seat of the faculty of reason. I couldn't get his words out of my head. Be the first or leading member of a group and excel. This student heads the class. The educator who has executive authority for a school. The upper part of the human body or the front part of the body in animals contains the face and brains. He stuck his head out the window. Travel in front of. Go in advance of others. The procession was headed by John. The part in the front or nearest the viewer. He was at the head of the column. A line of text serving to indicate what the passage below it is about. The heading seemed to have little to do with the text. A V-shaped mark at one end of an arrow pointer. A difficult juncture. Matters came to a head yesterday. Forward movement. The ship made little headway against the gale. Oral stimulation of the genitals. They say he gives good head. A dense cluster of flowers or foliage. A head of cauliflower. The subject matter at issue. Under the head of minor Roman poets. Direct the course. Determine the direction of traveling. The source of water from which a stream arises. They tracked him back toward the head of the stream. A natural elevation, especially a rocky one that juts out into the sea. Grammar, the word in a grammatical constituent that plays the same grammatical role as the whole constituent. A membrane that is stretched taut over a drum. An individual person. Tickets are $5 per head. A projection out from one end. The head of the nail. A rounded compact mass. The head of a comet. A single domestic animal. 200 head of cattle. A user of, usually soft, drugs. The office was full of secret heads. Be in the front of or on top of. The list was headed by the name of the president. Form a head or come or grow to a head. The wheat headed early this year. Nautical. A toilet on board a boat or ship. Remove the head of. Head the fish. Take its rise. These rivers head from a mountain range in the Himalayas. That part of a skeletal muscle that is away from the bone that it moves. The foam or froth that accumulates at the top when you pour an effervescent liquid into a container. The beer had a large head of foam. The front of a military formation or procession. The head of the column advanced boldly. The length or height based on the size of a human or animal head. He is 2 heads taller than his little sister. The pressure exerted by a fluid. A head of steam. The rounded end of a bone that fits into a rounded cavity in another bone to form a joint. The head of the humerus. The striking part of a tool. The head of the hammer. The tip of an abscess, where the pus accumulates. The top of something. The head of the stairs. To go or travel towards. Where is she heading? Usually plural, the obverse side of a coin that usually bears the representation of a person's head. Call heads or tails. An action aimed at evading an opponent. A deliberate coordinated movement requiring dexterity and skill. He made a great maneuver. A move made to gain a tactical end. Act in order to achieve a certain goal. He maneuvered to get the chairmanship. Perform a movement in military or naval tactics in order to secure an advantage in attack or defense. A plan for attaining a particular goal. Direct the course. Determine the direction of traveling. A military training exercise. Act in order to achieve a certain goal. Perform a movement in military or naval tactics in order to secure an advantage in attack or defense. Direct the course. Determine the direction of traveling. An action aimed at evading an opponent. A deliberate coordinated movement requiring dexterity and skill. A move made to gain a tactical end. Act in order to achieve a certain goal. Perform a movement in military or naval tactics in order to secure an advantage in attack or defense. A plan for attaining a particular goal. Direct the course. Determine the direction of traveling. A military training exercise.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.